Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anne-Sophie, I'm a knitter from Belgium, and I've saved so many cute spring knitting patterns it would be silly not to share. I hope you are able to grab yourself a cute little drink. I have some coffee right here and a fun little whip to work on while I yap to you about all of the patterns I have saved. And on that note, let's just dive right into it with what I'm wearing. I am wearing this CAMPANULA TEE by Cupid Knits that I finished last fall. It's a saddle shoulder contiguous type construction and it has ruffle edges all over except for the bottom of the body, which I regret not doing. Let me just stand up to show it to you real quick. It looks really pretty. It has this irregular ribbing all over, which makes it just look so chic. And you have a little elastic by the mock neck, which just makes it sit so nicely on your neck. Like, look at that. I adore this knit so much. So it's a design by Anna, who goes by Cupid Knits, and it is knit on 2.5mm needles with a sport weight yarn. I used the recommended yarn, which was partly discounted, so technically this is an ad. In the color Powder, I used Summer and Cashmere by Basic Yarn, which is a mostly cotton yarn with some cashmere content that just, I feel, elevates the stitch definition so much. It elevates your knitting experience. I recommend this so strongly. I'm gonna have my iPad here to read off my notes a little bit. It's knit at a gauge of 30 stitches by 40 rows, which is quite tight, and with this ribbing and how relatively large this garment is, I realized this might sound intimidating, but I knit this up relatively quickly, and because it's a sport weight yarn, the 2.5mm needles don't really act like a 2.5mm needle gauge. The needles mostly act as an insurance to have the ribbing stay nice and tight and neat, if that makes sense. The pattern comes in 12 sizes. I think there were originally 15 sizes, but the larger ones, she was unable to find test knitters, as is often the case with smaller designers. So I think if you have a larger bust size, you could have those sizes sent to you for testing if you wish. It intends for 15 to 20 centimeters of negative ease, and the tee fits a bust circumference between 70.5 and 135 centimeters. I was in between size 4 and 5, I think, and I sized down to a size 4 for a little bit of a tighter fit, which I absolutely adore. My sleeves, I don't know if you can see this, maybe you can, yeah, right here, they're folding a little bit. This will not be the case with yours if you knit this. This is something that was fixed after testing. My sleeves are a little bit loose, but they're supposed to be really tight fitting, and most people had this issue with the test, so the pattern was adapted. That's exactly what test knitting is for, so glad that worked out. And yeah, I can't recommend this pattern enough. The next pattern I'd like to talk to you about is also a bit of a more feminine, lacy one. That is the Madeleine Sweater by Pernille, one of the people behind Knitting for Olive. This is an all-over lace sweater knit from the bottom up, which is not my favorite construction, but if your final garment is going to end up looking like these garments do in the pictures of the pattern, like the sample pictures, and the project pictures I've seen on Ravelry and Instagram, I wouldn't mind knitting something bottom up for once. It's knit with 2 fingering weight yarns held together to give you a worsted gauge according to Ravelry, which is specifically a gauge of 20 stitches by 28 rows on 4.5mm needles. You join the front and the back after splitting with Kitchener stitch, and you join the sleeves to the body with Kitchener stitch, which I think is going to look really nice and almost like unnoticeable and as seamless as if you were to knit something top down. The sizes range from an extra small to a 5XL and fit a body circumference of 95 to 152 centimeters or 37.5 to 59.75 stitches. I think this is for sure a pattern I will be knitting this spring. I bought some knitting for olive yarn that I'll talk about probably in one of my next podcasts. I think this pattern would look lovely in like a dusty grayish blue or like a dusty violet color, or maybe even like a soft cool toned yellow. I think would look just scrumptious. But a lot of people have been knitting this piece in neutrals or even like the brighter blue. I think the blueberry ice cream color base the Knitting for Olive has now, I think that color for this pattern looks scrumptious as well. I really think you can do no wrong with color choice for this garment. This lace pattern will just look amazing in any color, I think. Now, if you want something like the Madeleine sweater, but you're not fully confident in your lace knitting skills, or you've never knit a full-on lace garment and you want to get some practice in before, but like me, you're not really a fan of lace yokes or round yokes or circular yoke garments, I have got the sweater for you, and that is the LYTHAM sweater by Lily Kate France. It is a mock neck crew neck-ish raglan sweater with very wide sleeves, which ends in a lace pattern similar to the one we saw in the Madeleine sweater. It is knit up at a worsted gauge, so I'm assuming it's a much quicker knit than the Madeleine sweater as well, on 5mm needles at a gauge of 18 stitches and 25 rows. The suggested yarn is Deririm Natura Gilead, which is a 100% wool yarn, I believe. But to make this more spring or summer suited, you could definitely knit this with a thicker cotton wool blend or just even a worsted weight cotton yarn. I think Gepard Garn definitely has like a beautiful thicker cotton wool blend. I think it's the cotton wool 5 that's thicker, or you could hold their cotton wool 3, which is a 50-50 cotton and wool blend double, to get like a DK, and maybe you'll be a bit off gauge, but you could definitely adapt the size you're knitting to get a little bit of a DK weight gauge, which is a bit less hot than a worsted weight, but still be able to knit this sweater for spring. The next sweater I have saved, which I think is perfectly suitable for spring, is the Lilac sweater by Bosong Knit. This is also knit at a worsted gauge with a worsted wool and a lace wool held together, but I think from the pattern pictures it doesn't look too chunky or heavy or thick for a spring knit. You get a crew neck drop shoulder sweater with these beautiful thick stockinette patches going vertically down and these pearl vertical rows in between them. And then on every other stockinette patch, you get these tiny little flowers. They look like they're knit up with pearl bumps, so it would not be too hard to knit, I believe, but it just gives this drop shoulder this classic, feminine, elegant, springy look without being too like Baroque level ornate, if that makes sense. It just looks like the perfect sweater to throw on over a t-shirt and a cute pair of trousers to go to school or to go to work. And then if it like gets a bit too hot in the afternoon or around noon, you can take it off to put it back on once it gets colder in the evening again. So to me, it looks so spring appropriate. I couldn't not include it in this pattern roundup. It's knit up at a gauge of 17.5 stitches and 24 rows on 5mm needles, which makes me think it's a pretty quick knit. This is a pattern by a Korean designer. It's available in English and Korean, and as is the case with a lot of Korean Japanese designers, the size ranges aren't generally as inclusive as patterns are that market more towards the western part of the world. So the sizes range from an extra small to an extra large, fitting chest circumferences ranging from 89 to 125 centimeters. If you want to knit a loose springy sweater, but you would like the option to have it open up when it's getting a bit too hot, you could knit the Diane sweater by Cookie the Knitter, who is also a Korean designer. This is a cardigan knit in either a cashmere or mohair, and it's just a basic, thin, simple drop shoulder fitted cardigan with tiny little buttons going all the way down so you can wear it closed or open. What I really appreciate about this design is the stockinette looking details around the button band and the crew neck. It just looks so finished and polished and beautiful. It's knit up at a fingering weight gauge, which entails 20 stitches by 28 rows on 4mm needles, and the sizes range from a wonderful 2XS to a 5XL. It's designed to have 10 to 15 centimeters of positive ease, and the sizes are meant to fit bust circumferences ranging from 75 to 140 centimeters or 23 to 55 inches. Oh, I only just saw while looking at this Ravelry page, but the bottom of the garment has these pearl ridges. That looks so cute. I love that detail. Now, if you're thinking, I really want a mohair cardigan for spring, but you think the Diane cardigan is just a bit too simple, too minimalist for your taste, let me point you to the Epiphany cardigan by the same designer as the CAMPANULA TEE. Cupid Knits has these lovely, feminine, but still minimalist, super stylish patterns, and one of them is this Epiphany cardigan with a short v-neck and then a little I-cord tie in the front. You can knit it pretty cropped, or you could knit it longer. You could knit it with as much positive ease as you want. Most of the sample pictures and the project pictures that I've seen so far are quite fitted, but I think if I were to knit this for myself, I would size up a size or two to have it fit me a bit more loosely and a bit more drapey, especially because I think that would suit the ruffles on the sleeves beautifully. Such a feminine all over mohair cardigan can elevate any look. You can just wear this with a top or a t-shirt and jeans, but you can also easily throw it on over a dress and it can make any outfit look just that tiny bit more put together and feminine and springy, in my opinion. It's knit at a sport weight gauge, so 2 lace strands held together, it says on Ravelry, and at a gauge of 21 stitches by 31 rows on 4mm needles. It's a raglan construction, so I'm assuming it's going to have a bit of a similar fit to the Cumulus blouse, but just in cardigan form with these lovely, lovely cutesy details. The sizes range from an extra small to an extra large, and it fits bust circumferences ranging from 68.5 to 106 centimeters. As with all of Anna's patterns, or most of Anna's patterns at least, I think the pattern comes in English and Danish. If you're thinking, Anne-Sophie, I'm really following you with the mohair theme here, but I don't think a cardigan would be for me. I'd prefer a little mohair blouse or a sweater. I would recommend the Gal sweater by Masha Ziablikowa, who designed this beautiful feminine lace detail mohair blouse. It has wide flowy sleeves, sort of reminding of the Madeleine sweater, with a bit of a indented detail on the end due to how the lace pattern sits. You can knit it with a cinched in part at the waist, which just makes it look so polished and makes me think it would be perfect to wear and pair with a dress or a skirt in the spring and summer. It has a bit of a boat neck with an I-cord detail, and it is a raglan construction. It is again a pattern that is knit bottom up, which seems to be a trend with lace patterns. I've never knit a fully lace garment, but as you might see from all of these saved patterns, I really do intend to, so I guess I'll maybe figure out why most of these seem to be knit bottom up instead of top down. I think this is one of the least size inclusive patterns that I have saved. The sizes range from a small to an extra large. She does make a note on Ravelry which reads, I also calculated the size 2XL, finished bust circumference 135 centimeters or 53.25 inches, but it hasn't been tested in English. If you would like to test it, please let me know. The blouse is intended to have 20 centimeters of positive ease, and the finished bust circumferences for the S to the XL range from 101 centimeters or 40 inches to 126 centimeters or 50 inches. If you haven't noticed by now, I'm obsessed with mohair knits for spring. I know mohair really had its moment and it seems to be passing a little bit, but I don't think it ever will for me, especially in my climate where I live. It's just one of the perfect things to wear during the spring. It's perfectly insulating but breathable, and it just looks so fluffy and soft, and I adore it. And the last pattern I have saved really encapsulates all of that for me as well, and that is the LOUNA Cardigan by Camille. It is a v-neck wrap top, raglan construction. It has these puffy sleeves and like scalloped edges knit all over, not with the mohair, but with, it seems to be like some form of a plant-based kind of tiny bit shiny yarn, which looks amazing. The sample is tied at the side with a little pearl button, which just, ah, chef's kiss. That looks so adorable and so cute. So the scallop details are really all over. They're at the cuffs, at the hem, at the v-neck and wrap part of the cardigan. Now, this specific pattern does not call for a mohair, but for an angora. I think that would easily be substitutable for a mohair because you end up with a DK weight, and you need to hit a gauge of 21 stitches by 30 rows on 4mm needles. The pattern page also states that you could knit this up with a fingering weight wool or merino held with a lace weight mohair. If you're not that much of a mohair person, I think that would look really, really cute as well. Or if you think 2 strands of mohair would be way too warm for you and you want to substitute it for a fingering weight merino, I think you can do that with any mohair garment that you see, but especially with this one, I think that would look just equally adorable to the mohair or the angora in the sample pictures at least. This pattern fits sizes ranging from extra small to 2XL, which have a finished bust circumference of 84 to 130 centimeters, and the pattern says to consider 0 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. The pattern comes in English and French, and that doesn't surprise me because this pattern just looks perfectly French to me, like in the most chic way possible. It's just so, so cute. I think I would love to knit this to wear over like a slip dress or a satin dress to go to like a friend's wedding or something, or like out to brunch with a little skirt. That would be so adorable. Something else that actually I am really planning to knit to wear with a slip dress that I have in a dusty dove bluish color with obviously dusty dove blue yarn from Knitting for Olive is another Knitting for Olive pattern designed by pernille, and that is the Barbroe blouse. This blouse has been around everywhere. It would not surprise me if you've seen it before, but I could just not include it in this pattern roundup. It is also knit bottom up in all over lace. Even the little mock neck is lace. It's a drop shoulder fit, as the sleeves are also knit bottom up and then grafted to the drop shoulder. And it is knit entirely with a fingering weight yarn, the 3mm needle at a gauge of 20 stitches and 40 rows. These scallops look like a very beginner friendly lace pattern to me. I've been knitting this ripple stitch baby blanket, which really is just yarn overs and decreases, and it looks to me like this lace pattern will be very similar to that. To make sure it fits over your head and make the mock neck fit really nicely, you have this keyhole detail in the back with then 3 little buttons to close the mock neck. I think I'll have a lot of trouble finding 3 dusty blue buttons to fit that color of the yarn that I've chosen for this pattern perfectly, but let's just manifest that I'll be able to find that. I do think this is a garment that will take up a lot of time to knit, but I'm in awe of this design. I think I really wouldn't mind spending so much time on a piece to like love it forever, if that makes sense. I'm yapping, but I hope that made sense. The finished sizes are 10 in total. The finished measurements of these sizes are approximately 72 to 144 centimeters or 28¼ to 56¾ inches. Another cute fingering weight tee that might take you a little bit less time to knit than the Barbroe blouse is the Margaret Tee by Colibri by Johanna, a German designer. This is also a raglan tee with like 3/4 or just short sleeves, and it is all over stockinette with I-cord edges, but then these gorgeous little scrappy mohair leftover frills at the cuffs and at the hem. It looks so beautifully feminine also because it has these bows. I'm not sure whether they're crochet chain bows or like I-cord bows, but either way, they look amazingly cute, and I do see myself knitting this sometime in the future. The sample is knit with Filcolana Merci and Filcolana Tilia, which is a fingering weight yarn and a mohair for the edges. It's knit on 3.5mm needles, which is quite a loose fingering weight gauge, which makes me think this will be like a beautifully flowy, airy tee to wear in the spring and the summer. It's supposed to be knit up at a gauge of 22 stitches by 36 rows. The pattern comes in English and German and fits sizes ranging from an extra small to a 5 extra large. The finished bust circumference of the top ranged from 91 centimeters to 147 centimeters with a positive ease of 0 to 8 centimeters. This is one of these patterns that I included in my little mental make 9 for the year, just because I've been obsessed with it for so long, but I've never really come to knitting it for real. I think I'm just waiting for like the perfect mohair scrap to find a fingering weight yarn for to hold with it to knit this tee. I really hope I do end up knitting it sometime in the future, in the near future preferably. Another stockinette spring knit with lace edges, but this time non-mohair ones, is the Ophelia Tank and Top pattern by Starcrossed Knits or Tamara Jordan. She came out with this Ophelia Tank last year, I think. It's just a stockinette v-neck tank with these beautiful lace edges, like armhole opening details and hemline. It's a fingering weight knit on 2.75mm needles, entirely in stockinette except for the edges, and it is knit at a gauge of 24 stitches by 36 rows. Last year, I think it was last year, Knits by Mandy made a video talking about all of these bridal knitting patterns, which was such a good video, and she included this pattern and said that she would love to knit it with long sleeves. And after saying and sharing that, the designer Starcrossed Knits actually went and added both short and long sleeves to this pattern, and I have been obsessed with this long sleeved look ever since. I think I might be knitting this up in Sunless Garn Tin Lina this spring or summer. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The top is designed to be worn with neutral ease at the bust and positive ease at the waist. The sizes range from a 1 to a 9, which fit busts ranging from 28 inches to 62 inches or 71 centimeters to 158 centimeters. I've spent a lot of time scrolling through project pictures for this pattern, and every single one of them has me like in awe of this garment. I really recommend just scrolling through these project pictures and getting like color inspiration. I don't know what it is about this pattern, but it just makes me feel so excited for spring and summer and for spring and summer outfits and knitting, and it's been so popular and everyone's been talking about it, but really with good reason, I think. Now, something slightly similar that not a lot of people have been talking about, and which I found on Ravelry through one of my friends favoriting it, is the Chloe tee by Solvara knitwear. The sample pictures are like a black and a red, so you can't really see it super well on Ravelry, but it kind of looks like the V-neck Cumulus tee by Petite Knit, but with like this beautiful picot edge. So it's a raglan stockinette tee with like short sleeves, like kind of the length of my CAMPANULA tee sleeves, and just the picot edge at the v-neck, at the cuffs, and at the hemline. I think this is like also the perfect tee to knit for spring because it's like simple enough to wear with anything, right? It's just a simple raglan stockinette knit, but these picot edges just elevate it that tiny bit and make it feel and look so spring appropriate and so feminine and dainty and florally, which I don't know, I really associate with spring and I adore. It's knit up at a sport weight gauge, which I think would really be a good substitute for people who want to knit their first stockinette thin summer or spring tee, but feel like a bit too daunted to knit something like the Cumulus tee, which is at a fingering weight gauge. You can knit it with the yarn I used for my CAMPANULA tee with the Basic Yarn Summer in Cashmere. I think that would look so stunning. It has quite a lot of beautiful colors, and you knit it with 3.5mm needles at a gauge of 26 stitches by 36 rows. The finished bust sizes range from an XXS to a 5XL with a width of 72 up to 166 centimeters and a recommended ease of up to 10%. So I think that's a positive ease. If you're a bit of a beginner knitter and you hate the purl side of stockinette, I would maybe not recommend this because you will be knitting flat for a long time to establish the v-neck, even though it's a raglan. So I would just like to mention that just in case. But if you don't mind purling as a beginner, I think this would be a really good stockinette but elevated spring tee to get into like cute t-shirts and knitted tops that aren't a DK weight and aren't so heavy. If you want to start knitting tops in the spring already and you're not really feeling tees because they're a lot of work in a fingering weight yarn, but you do want a top to have like enough coverage to keep you like warm enough during the spring or to wear with like a cardigan, I would strongly recommend looking up the Tangent top by Knitrohi. I'm very sorry if I butchered your name. She goes by knitrohi on Ravelry, and she published this fingering weight top with like a little bit of a mock neck and then like a straight shoulder. So it kind of fits like a fitted slipover, but it's a fingering weight tank. It has these beautiful details on the shoulder, and these details run down past the arm opening with, I think, a twisted rib. Actually, the twisted rib from the collar that run down over the shoulder and down past the arm opening, which I think just looks so pretty and like minimalist and springy and clean and polished and not as frilly or springy or feminine as some of the other patterns that I've been talking about up to now, but still like just a bit elevated, if you know what I mean. So I think this is just a staple, a perfect basic that you could wear with so many things. For example, I can imagine myself wearing this with so many of my trousers and skirts and shorts in my wardrobe. It's just, I don't know, it looks like the perfect basic. I would love to knit this up. So as I said, it's knit at a fingering weight gauge on 3mm needles with a gauge of 26 stitches by 36 rows. The sizes range from a size 1 to 10, corresponding to bust measurements ranging from 27 inches to 60 inches. And that is 65 to 145 centimeters. Oh, there's a note here on Ravelry that states sizes 9 and 10 have not been test knitted, although I am confident in the calculations of these sizes. If you would like to knit any of these sizes and provide feedback, please contact me and I'd be happy to provide you the pattern for free in exchange for the feedback. If you're not as much as a feminine person and more of like a minimalist, more, I don't know, clean, unisex, Scandi type style person, I think the ELSI vest by Milena Pauliina looks really nice as well to knit for the spring. It's an all over cabled vest, but the cable repeat is just the same all the time, which makes it look really beautifully minimalist. It has 2x2 ribbing, and what I think makes this vest pop out or stand out among other cabled vests is that the increases run along one cable, which makes it look so meticulously thought out as a design. It's knit at a gauge of 18 stitches in stockinette, and it is knit with a sport and a lace weight held together on 3.5mm needles, and it comes in 9 sizes. It's designed with positive ease, but I think you could like play with the gauge of this pattern a little bit to make it fit more like a top. In any case, the sizes correspond to fit bust circumferences of approximately 70 to 155 centimeters or 30 to 62 inches. Now, if you're in the market for a really good basic cardigan for spring, I will probably be knitting the Paul cardigan by Morika Knit. It is a saddle shoulder cardigan knit with apparently lots and lots of short rows to ensure a perfect fit. And aside from that, it is all over stockinette with beautiful 2x2 ribbing and a double knitted button band. But what I think looks so cute is that the button band, the double knitting, doesn't run along the back neck. At the back neck, you actually get the ribbing straight up, on which the button band is then picked up and sits beautifully against. It's just a simple saddle shoulder, wide fit, flowy spring cardigan in my opinion. It's just perfect for the season. It is knit up at a DK weight gauge with a sport and a lace weight yarn held together. You're supposed to get a gauge of 22 stitches by 31 rows on 4mm needles. The pattern comes in English, Danish, German, and Polish, and the sizes range from an XS to a 3XL. This is fitting a bust circumference of 80 to 130 centimeters or 31.5 to 51 1/4 inches. I will probably be knitting this in like a slightly warm marzipan-y color just to give me the perfect creamy marzipan-y cardigan to throw over really anything in my wardrobe for the spring and the summer seasons. Now, the last pattern I'd like to talk about for spring, which is slightly elevated but also not too girly or frilly or florally, is something everyone and their mother has knit, I feel, but I've never really felt up to knitting it because it has more of a halter neck fit. But aside from the halter neck fit, I absolutely adore it, and that is the twist loop top by Other Loops. Last spring or summer, I saw Ali from Study Knits knit this up, but make the adjustment of widening the shoulder straps, and all of a sudden, this top just looked so perfect to me. It kind of looks like it fits similarly to the tangent top I talked about earlier. Ever since I saw Ali knitting it up like this, I have been even more obsessed with this pattern and just 100% sure that I want to knit it now. And I just thought I'd share this in my pattern roundup because maybe not everyone has seen Ali's video or Ali's project on Instagram, and maybe people have been looking at the twist loop top just like me, but feeling a bit hesitant to knit it, even though the cable detail and like the thick ribbing on the rest of the garment just looks so good. I'm just here to share this modification with you because it is brilliant and I will for sure be following it when I knit up this garment now. I have some marzipan knitting for olive merino in my stash that I think I could use for this garment, and I might end up casting that on either this spring or in the summer. Those were all of the spring patterns that I had saved on Ravelry that I wanted to talk through with you guys. I hope you made some good progress on whatever you were knitting on. Please let me know what you were knitting on in the comments down below. I love to get those comments and read through them. Or if you're thinking of knitting up one of these patterns this spring or summer, also please let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and get to enjoy some lovely knitting time, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!